Hey guys, welcome back. Alex here. Today we're going to have a story that you guys sent on Patreon, and I'm going to read the message over here from Jessica. Hey Alex, you should see this real story that happened to a Russian tourist who starved for 3 days in the Philippines. But this story, it will reveal to you what it's like to be a Filipino. And you know that I love and I feel a Filipino by heart. But let's go and watch this, and we're going to talk later.
The sun beat down on the small coastal town in Palawan. Tourists laughed in the streets, cameras in hand, capturing paradise. But in a quiet alley, hidden from view, sat Natasha, alone, starving, forgotten. She had come to the Philippines with dreams, 2 years of saving every ruble from her cafe job in Moscow. The Philippines was supposed to be affordable, beautiful, a place where her modest savings could last for months. And for one perfect week, it was everything she imagined. Crystal waters, limestone cliffs, sunsets that painted the sky in impossible colors. Then everything changed. She met a group of travelers at her hostel. They seemed trustworthy. One of them, Marco, offered to show her a secret beach tourists never visited. She went. The beach was beautiful, but when they returned that night, her bag was gone.
Ooh.
Everything. Passport, phone, money, all of it. Marco and his friends had vanished. The police tried to help but needed documentation she didn't have. The hostel kicked her out. The Russian embassy was hours away in Manila, with no way to get there. Other tourists she approached thought she was scamming them, so she ended up here, in this alley, watching life pass by. By day 3, her hands trembled constantly, her vision blurred. The smell of street food tortured her. She had given up hope. That's when Maria found her. Maria was 67 years old and had been selling lugao, Filipino rice porridge, from a small cart for 30 years. She walked past that alley every morning, but today something made her stop. Maybe it was how Natasha's hands shook against the pavement. Maybe it was the emptiness in her eyes. Or maybe Maria simply recognized suffering because she had lived it herself.
I guess she recognized suffering because we know and we saw in a lot of videos how Filipino are resilient, even if they are really have, endure a lot of things. But let me tell you this really quick. I mean, for me, that I will visit the Philippines, or it doesn't matter for every other tourist, that you will go in a country and you remain without your phone, money, anything. I mean, it's a nightmare, just nightmare. And she's from Russia. Let's don't forget what Filipino did, the Filipino people and country did for the Russians. We have the video on the channel, White Russians. I'm going to leave it at the end of the video. A beautiful, real story with interviews and everything. It's amazing. The only country in the world that helped them was the Philippines.
Maria approached slowly and said something kind in Tagalog. Then she disappeared and returned with a bowl of steaming lugao, simple rice porridge topped with boiled egg and green onions. Natasha stared at the bowl, then at this stranger offering help when no one else had. Tears spilled down her face. Maria sat beside her on the dirty ground and watched her eat. She didn't ask questions, didn't judge, just sat there. When Natasha finished, something shifted inside her, not just the fullness in her stomach, but warmth in her heart. This woman owed her nothing, had probably very little herself, yet she gave anyway. Natasha wanted to give something back, anything. She reached into her jacket pocket and found the one thing the thieves hadn't taken, a small notebook and pencil. It was all she had left. She opened to a blank page and began to draw. Her hands shook from hunger, but she sketched Maria's face, the lines around her eyes, her gentle smile, the strength in her weathered features. 10 minutes later, she showed Maria the drawing. Maria gasped. She stared at it, then at Natasha, then back at the drawing. She had never seen herself like this, not as a poor vendor, but as someone beautiful, someone worthy of being remembered. Tears filled Maria's eyes. She carefully folded the drawing and placed it over her heart. Then she took Natasha's hand and pulled her to her feet. Maria led her through winding streets to a tiny house barely bigger than a room. Inside, her daughter Rosa, son-in-law Dante, and 10-year-old grandson Jun looked up in surprise from their small dinner. Maria showed them the drawing and explained rapidly in Tagalog. Rosa hesitated. They barely had enough for themselves, but Maria insisted, pointing to the drawing, then to her heart. Rosa nodded. They made space at their table, added water to stretch the rice, shared their simple meal of rice, dried fish, and vegetables. That night, Natasha slept on a thin mat on their floor, surrounded by a family who had nothing but gave everything. The next morning, Rosa brought Natasha to the resort where she worked as a cleaner. Her manager, Linda, was skeptical at first, but Rosa insisted. When Linda asked what skills Natasha had, she showed her the notebook. Linda flipped through pages of sketches, the islands, the sea, the people. Her expression changed. The resort had been struggling to compete with bigger hotels. Linda had been searching for something to make them special, different. She saw an opportunity. She offered Natasha a deal. Create artwork capturing authentic Filipino life for the resort in exchange for accommodation and meals. It wasn't charity, it was work. Natasha accepted immediately. Over the following weeks, she created with purpose. She sketched fishermen at dawn, market vendors arranging produce, children playing in shallow waters, families eating together under dim lights.
Sorry to stop for 1 second, but it's emotional for me over here. You know why? Because Filipino people and country can give a meaning to a heart. It happened to me through videos from far away, but still, it changed me. It made me a better person, like I said in previous videos. So I can imagine for this girl how it would have been not only, the sad thing of losing everything, but being, hugged from this amazing country and people from the Philippines.
But her masterpiece was a large portrait of Maria behind her luga cart, painted with such dignity that she looked like royalty. When it was hung in the resort lobby, guests stopped to stare. They asked about the woman in the painting. They wanted to meet her. Linda began promoting the resort as a place to experience authentic Filipino culture through art. Travel bloggers wrote about it. Social media posts spread. Within 3 months, bookings doubled. Linda offered Natasha a permanent position with a monthly salary. Natasha accepted, but insisted part of it go to Maria's family every month. But she wanted to do more. She started teaching free art classes every Saturday in Maria's neighborhood. She brought paper, pencils, and paint bought with her first salary. At first, 3 children came, then 5, then 20. One of her first students was Jun, Maria's grandson, a quiet boy who rarely spoke. But when Natasha gave him his first real sketchbook, something awakened. Jun drew constantly, his grandmother at her cart, his mother washing clothes, his neighborhood with detail and love. Natasha saw immediately he had a gift. She spent extra time with him, teaching perspective and shading, how to capture emotion, how to tell stories without words. Jun thrived. He won local competitions. His confidence grew. His grades improved. He started believing in himself. 2 years later, with Natasha's help, Jun applied for a scholarship to study fine arts at the University of the Philippines. When the acceptance letter arrived with full scholarship, Maria cried in the middle of the street. The day Jun left for Manila, half the neighborhood came to see him off. He carried the first sketchbook Natasha had given him. On the first page, she had written, "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see." 1 year after that, a gallery in Moscow contacted Natasha. They wanted to feature her Filipino collection in an exhibition. She agreed on one condition: Maria had to come with her. At 72 years old, Maria boarded her first flight, terrified but holding Natasha's hand. In that Moscow gallery, Natasha unveiled her masterpiece, a 6-foot painting titled "The Heart of the Philippines." Maria at her cart, painted like royalty, surrounded by scenes of Filipino kindness, families helping each other, neighbors sharing meals, strangers offering compassion. The painting sold for $75,000.
Wow.
Natasha split it evenly with Maria. Maria tried to refuse, but in front of the gathered crowd, Natasha took her hands and spoke words that would be recorded and go viral worldwide. You gave me luga when I was starving, but you gave me something more important. You reminded me that humanity still exists, that kindness isn't dead, that even when the world seems cruel, there are still people with hearts bigger than their struggles. This isn't charity, Maria. It's a debt I can never repay, because you didn't just save my life. You gave me a reason to keep living. The video spread across every platform within days. Millions watched. The comments poured in. I'm crying at work right now. This is what humanity should be. Filipinos have the biggest hearts in the world. I've traveled everywhere, and the Philippines showed me the most kindness. This story restored my faith in people. But one comment captured it perfectly. A Filipino living abroad wrote, "We may not have much. Most Filipinos live in poverty, but we share what we have. We call it bayanihan. We help each other, even strangers, because we know what it's like to struggle. We know what it's like to need help. So when we see someone suffering, we stop. We give what we can, even if it's just a bowl of lugao, because we're all just trying to survive this life together." Seeing the world recognize this makes me so proud to be Filipino. Maria used her money to help her family and neighbors, but she also started a small fund to help other tourists in trouble. Just enough for a meal or a phone call, enough to restore hope. Natasha never left the Philippines. She married a local teacher and opened an art studio that became a community center. Jun graduated top of his class and returned to teach beside her. Together, they created a free art program for underprivileged children across Palawan. Today, if you visit that town, you'll see murals painted by local artists, children carrying sketchbooks, a community transformed, and every morning you'll see an elderly woman at her cart, still selling lugaw. Her great-grandchildren help her now. Beside the cart hangs a hand-painted sign. In the Philippines, we don't just feed your stomach, we feed your soul.
Whoa, so beautiful.
Natasha sits nearby, sketching, her hair now gray. People ask why she stayed, why she didn't return to Russia, why she chose this small town over opportunities elsewhere. Her answer is always the same. Because I learned that home isn't where you're from. It's where someone sees you when you're invisible, where someone feeds you when you're starving, where kindness is a way of life. I found that here, in a bowl of lugo, in a stranger who became family. The Philippines didn't just save my life, it taught me how to live. This story reminds us of a simple truth. Kindness doesn't cost much. Sometimes it's just a bowl of warm porridge. Sometimes it's just stopping when others walk past, but its impact lasts forever. Because in a world that often feels cold, there are still places where hearts are warm, still people who give when they have nothing, still moments that remind us what it means to be human. And sometimes all it takes is one person, one act of kindness, one bowl of lugaw to change everything.
I don't think this story needs, a description or a lot of words. And it resembles with what I said in a lot of other previous videos, that the world needs the Philippines because it's the only place where still humanity exists. And being touched by by the Filipino spirit, it can help you. It did with me, and it still, keeps doing it by hearing this kind of story or history or a lot of or music as well. But this is what we're trying to do over here: promote and share with the world the kindness and how beautiful the Filipino people are, and how much we need what there is, inside the Filipino people. And not only as a country as beautiful, because, we opened another channel. It's in the description, Alex Beyond Border, where we explore in the Philippines the beauty of it in the country and everything. But still, there is, like I said it, the most beautiful people on the planet are the Philippines. Let me know what you think down below about this story. I know in the message on Patreon, I had that the name were changed for privacy. So maybe she's not called Maria, but anyways, she did an amazing thing and she saved a life. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but in a way, these videos and this channel about the Philippines saved mine. So yeah, thank you for watching. Other videos coming on the channel. Make sure to subscribe on the other channel as well. Don't forget in the description. And like I always say, stay safe and God bless the Philippines.